What's up, everyone? It is episode 99, and Big Daddy Elon is back at Tesla. What a week. We're going to get into all of that as the focus point is FSD and this Optimus. He responded to a tweet last night, which we're going to get into, that could really just kind of give some good indications of things to come. But ultimately, there is a lot going on. So how's it going, Brian, Hans, and Joe? How are you guys doing?
Doing good. I am back. I am in studio. I have no excuses for any problems, so I'm going to make sure today goes smoothly.
I know I had to reset my internet before this. Hans, oh man, he even got the referral link up. Dang.
Hey, shameless self-promotion every time.
That's like me when I was on 60 Minutes yesterday. I was thinking I should probably promote this. You know what I mean? It's tough being as famous as I am and in the circles that I run, but you know what I mean? I humble, you know what I mean? I humble. So.
Well, and the reality is if Joe doesn't promote 60 Minutes, who's going to watch it?
Right? Who's gonna
I know they got bigger problems right now, like lawsuits and faking interviews and stuff. But it's neither here nor there. Let's get into it. So if you need a referral code, make sure you use Hans 71453. And just looking at the Tesla stock, we are at 336 this week. So down by about $10. And as someone always tells Brian, you should probably sell your stock. Again, not financial advice. Just joking. No, but it's been a crazy year just to see the rebound. A lot of the stocks. And I would say that, I think we're very siloed in the Tesla world sometimes, but all of the stocks have taken a nosedive and then rebounded. Obviously, Tesla will always be on like the higher or lower end of that. In the dips because of just how volatile the stock is and how polarizing it can be, but it has followed a similar trend. So great to see it only 11% down versus I think something like 30, 35 where it's trended. But thank you to Tim Waltz for allowing it to bounce back like inverse Kramer. All right. So as I said at the very beginning, Daddy Elon is back. He is just pounding the ground with interviews talking about the future of Tesla and all of the things going on. And obviously other things as well. Like he met with the Microsoft CEO this past week to talk about Grok and Azure, along with he did about 2 interviews this past week, one with Qatar Economic Forum, and then I believe CNBC, and I think there was one other one like Faber or something like that. And then I believe he had the Department of Transportation, I think it was, or the secretary as well. Again, I could be saying that wrong. He's out here on the left, where they displayed the Optimus robot to a bunch of government officials. But yeah, sorry, did someone want to speak?
Sure. I'll just say that. So yeah, that is Sean Duffy, Transportation Secretary on the left, and his interview wasn't terrible. I mean, none of the interviews were terrible, but some of them were really trying to be. The Qatari one was a little bit hostile, and I'll tell you what I'd say every time is it is so rare to find a good interview with Elon because there are mostly people who interview him don't care about Tesla, don't care about Elon. They care about themselves, and they definitely don't know things about the company. The last time I saw a good interview with Elon was when this fella from California went out and with another guy who runs a bunch of Turo stuff and this space guy. That was the last one when John and Eli and the Kilowatts went out there, because you guys understand what the company is, what all the companies are. You ask deep, insightful questions. And, call me a Tesla snob, but I would love to see that again, where the interviewers actually know what questions to ask. So while these were all interesting and insightful, I don't feel like you need to go and watch them. If you really want to get some insight, and I'm not even joking, go back and watch the original Silicon Valley Elon interview, because you will get more insight out of that than you will the sum of these videos.
Yeah, just to echo what Brian's talking about, man, you get a lot of people that are just trying to get sound bites for their whole thing. You know what I mean? Like just to be quotable on something that they got Elon to say accidentally or whatever. And that type of, I don't know, hit journalism is like really rampant right now. Like people are really just trying to just spark controversy with whatever they can do and whatever they can say. And but kudos to the Qatar interview for Elon from an Elon perspective, because yeah, he could have got upset and walked out, but I mean, sometimes it's good for a person to be pressed a little bit, and I think that was probably one of the most pressing videos he's ever done, and he handled it really well and just let her say her crap and responded proper. I think it was really, really well done by him, even amidst everything that she was obviously trying to get him to do and clearly did not like him or anything he was about. But I would think that when you end up with people like that and you're able to talk to them the way Elon was and how he was able to respond and, just kind of quell a lot of the fears and FUD around whatever she was talking about, I think that goes a long way. There's no way she left that interview still feeling the same way she did about him before. And I think if there were a lot of people that felt the way she felt, that they in kind left that feeling differently about Elon, as I'm sure a lot of people. I mean, the tour he's been on lately is kind of speaks to that. I think that's pretty well done by him.
She would have loved for him to walk out. She would, oh my God, you know how famous I am today? I'm the one who made
Yeah.
Elon walk out of an interview. And not to take too much away from some of the other interviewers, but like Joe Rogan's fun, but it's clear he doesn't know anything about SpaceX or Tesla. I mean, he was like, wait, you land rockets? Oh my gosh, really? Yes. Yes.
Oh my God.
Joe. Jamie, pull that up. Jamie, pull that up and see if you can put a monkey on it. It's crazy.
That's insane. I actually did not even know that. Yeah, no, I mean, I want to get into how you guys are reacting to him back at Tesla, your thoughts on that. We'll get into that in a sec. But yeah, I think it really just depends on how you approach the interview. I've interviewed him twice now, and I've also attended as a viewer in person for another person's interview as well. So it really depends on what are you trying to get out of the interview when you interview him, because the thing is like, sure, are you going to try to be able to stump him? I mean, you can stump anybody, but Elon is also one of those people. He can smell your BS. And so it really kind of just depends on what you want to get. Like if you want to talk to a guy who literally can see 15 years into the future, or if you want to be like Don Lemon and just try to like, again, get your soundbite, get him almost to like move on, or something like what just happening at the Qatar interview, like you're gonna be able to get it, but it's not gonna be it's not gonna be an interview where you're gonna get much of anything, right? Especially if you're trying to stump him. Like the lady just would not lay off on the EMEA sales, and as she pushed him more, I mean, he actually continued to give her more reasons why this is happening and not just trying to escape the question. It's like, yeah, sure, things might be down there. That's the worst market, but we also shut down the factory. All of the other markets are doing well. So, and then he even at one point told her to move on. So it really depends. Like, I think when you do interview him, it's important to, really, if you want to get deep insights into how he's thinking, where the future of technology is going, it can't be just like, hey, let me get my soundbite and try to break him, right? It needs to be, like, hey, how do I ask him questions that really help us to see what the future could look like, right? I mean, and again, there's some other stuff that I'm not going to share because can't share that, how I would break it down personally. But it's just one of those things where, Elon, he gets criticized all the time. He doesn't need to jump into this stuff. And again, he doesn't need an echo chamber, but it's one of those things where it's important to just, these type of interviews are just kind of a waste of time, in my opinion, but whatever. What do I know? All right, so let me punt it to Brian or Joe or Hans. What did you guys think this week? I mean, he's clearly back now. He's focused. I think he even said in one of the interviews that he was going to be back in the Bay Area. I've been noticing, it seems like he's been making a lot more trips out this way and in Austin as well, as he kind of stepping back a little bit from Doge. But what are your guys' thoughts on having him back, especially as Robotaxi and Optimus are here?
Well, I would say, in the words of a guy that I saw in 60 Minutes, probably nothing. I will actually kick it to Joe because, I mean, my thoughts are probably the same as his.
Yeah, no, I think when you see Elon start to throw on special made outfits for 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 his talks, you start to realize that he's seriously in it. And the jacket came out, and I mean, a couple of custom shirts, like, I mean, he kind of gets into the mode. I will say that what we're looking at a time in history where, I mean, we are so fortunate, and people kind of like gloss over this a little bit, but we are in a time of Steve Jobs and Elon Musk and Stephen Hawking, and there are some great minds and some great people that have changed the world. You know what I mean? Like, literally changed the world in how we view it and how things are happening in the future generations. And to be able to have that time to talk with him, and one of these minds that's still with us and still innovating and still doing things on a daily basis, you don't want to crap on that. You don't want to take it for granted. You don't want to just like ruin it. You know what I mean? And I think it's kind of unfortunate with the politics and everything, but we're like in such a clickbait time to where people just want to like hate on people for like the weirdest things, man. It's so bizarre, but the truth of the fact is that he's changing the world, and he's one of the better people for it. There are a lot of people that have a lot of power, and he is one of the people that I'm glad it's him. You know what I'm saying? And I can't say that about a lot of people. There's some people that have a lot of power and they wield it very, very badly. And he's just not one of those type of people. He's always trying to do well. I mean, it might not always be done in the best way possible or how we would do it, but his intentions are always good, and he's always trying to do good for humanity. And I mean, there's not a lot of people that are trying to put humanity first. So
I would add to that if you think that you would be more responsible with that kind of power, I point out that homeowners associations exist, and the smallest amount of power can go directly to someone's head. I've seen people get added as a moderator and immediately start throwing their weight around in the chat. And it's like, guys, this is insane. Thank goodness you don't have any amount of real world power.
I mean, I would say my high level reaction is that he has, really got the ball rolling on the Doge thing. I think that we're going to see some, hopefully, continued progress there on revealing areas where savings can be had. But I think comment that he made there, I think this was also at the Qatar interview, was that the reality of the situation is that without Congress actually voting to then say, okay, these are opportunities for us to save money, we're going to remove those from the budget. There's not a process in place right now for that money to actually be saved by the taxpayer. And that's an unfortunate, reality of our political system at this point in time. We'll see what happens with that over the next year. But I think he's had as much impact as he wants to have and feels like is useful at this point in time. And, it's not like he wasn't involved in Tesla or SpaceX or any of these companies in the meantime, but he can come back and focus most of his efforts there. And he also has probably helped open up some latitude now for Tesla to be able to move forward with the robotaxi by having this relationship with the administration. And then we saw Sean Duffy. What was his name? Sean Duffy. Yeah, the Secretary of Transportation there, that, you know, there's some government definitely could have been a huge bottleneck for Tesla's growth plans. And I think Elon, while maybe we'll see, like I said, on Doge, how much we can actually cut the deficit, cut spending, rein in this just ridiculous blob of government love of money spending and waste. But at least they won't be getting in the way as much of Tesla continuing to grow. And, that was a external risk factor for the company that no one else at Tesla could have dealt with at the level that Elon did. And while, Tesla investors might feel like, oh, this whole thing has been a distraction and a liability, I think in the long run that Elon thinks ahead. He thinks ahead way further than any investor that I know. And he is not only equipped to, but capable of making these types of difficult decisions at the time when they need to be made to then open up the ability of Tesla to execute over the long term. So I think that's what's happened. I think that it's good to see like the responsiveness now of the Optimus team. That was exciting. We'll get into that a little bit more, but a lot of different pieces of news that came out of the company over the last week show that this work has been going on the whole time. It's just that we didn't get to get a glimpse behind the curtain, and now that he's having everyone do their show and tells again, that he's like, okay, let's send this one out, let's send this one out, let's send this one out. And it's been great progress.
Yeah, 100%. I'll say two things real quick. The first is that we have to realize that as far as Doge is concerned, Elon was merely a consultant. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have any real power and he can only suggest things. You know what I mean? Like,
wait, I thought he was the president.
People love to make it seem like he was doing all of these.
But the things happened without congressional oversight. So let's not get
right.
Apologize too much.
There's no congressional oversight. So the other thing I would like to say is that there's nobody on the planet who has more money and time invested in Tesla than Elon. And so for people to get worried about the stock price when he's not is really kind of wild to me.
Well, but I don't know if you guys know this, but between Elon and I, we own over 27 million shares and combined. And so that means that, I'm one of the major stakeholders. With Elon.
Same.
Oh, okay. So, by the way, I don't even know how much his number changes when you add mine, but it doesn't. The decimal points are real far down the line. But yeah,
no,
I see this every day in the comments. It's brand damage time. You started off the show by mentioning it's, oh my gosh, you need to sell now. It is maximum fear. You're going to be in the poorhouse. My guys, you said that when I bought in 2019. If I'd have listened to you then, you and I would be standing in the same bread line. I saw something in Tesla in 2019 that they did not. And you know what? The reason I didn't sell at 300 or 400 or 50 is because I still see something in it that they do not. You may have missed the boat. It is entirely possible there's a new boat coming. Maybe don't miss that one, or do. I really don't care. And because of course the four of us are just out here pumping it for our own selfish needs. Guys, I'm flattered that you think any of us has the capacity to move $1 trillion stock, but I would hasten to point out that is lunacy.
I am a direct contributor to the ups and downs of
my thoughts. I'm just gonna hit this and then I'll throw it back to you, Hans. My thoughts are one. I'm really. I think. I'm really excited about Elon being back. I know he obviously had to. He even mentioned it this past week. He had to do what he had to do. Now is the time to step out. And actually, I can share a tweet. But all that to say is that partially the reason why I'm super excited is I can't think of a company in the past couple of decades that I've really been paying attention to. Let's say the White House and some of this other stuff. And I'm not saying I've been following it super closely. But no other company has had such involvement and had, like, whether it's the Secretary of Transportation or, again, a lot of like the people that are involved in politics have a company that is breaking through various industries and technologies like Tesla, whether it's XAI, all of that stuff. But it's good that the government officials can see where the future is going at such a huge turning curve for all of us, where all of our lives are literally changing as we speak right now. And so I think it's good, whether and it's not about benefit to Tesla. It's important that our government officials know where is technology going, where's the future. And that's why I'm super excited for them to see where AI and Optimus and robo taxis and all this other stuff. And so there's no other company that I would rather put in front of the government officials than a company like Tesla or one of other Elon's companies, because again, ultimately, it'll help stretch their minds in seeing the future, if they haven't, to help us essentially build and innovate to get to those next levels, to compete with other countries like China and some of the other places that are really just innovating. So that's why and the time is now, right? I think I might as well just show this now, but and then I'll throw it back to Hans. But Farzad had posted something. Given the disastrous GOP bill, the only chance the U.S. has is explosive GDP growth. If that doesn't happen in the next 2 to 3 years, we're cooked. Please pass term limits in Congress. And then a guy named Barrett said, I wonder if this is why Elon has somewhat moved away from politics in order to accelerate GDP growth with humanoid bots. If he believes this is the only solution, then this would be his most logical choice. And he sends a bullseye. I actually think it's probably twofold. I think his time as a full, like being there full time, has kind of come to an end. But also, too, it's just funny how the timing of this all works out, where it literally, like, humanoid robots are going to be the biggest product ever made, bigger than iPhones, bigger than anything we can imagine. But I talked forever, so I'm going to throw it back to Hans. We can again talk about this tweet, but I want to make sure that Hans has the mic.
It is a striking, reality that we, been talking about waste, fraud, and abuse. Like, this has been such a huge front and center thing for the administration in so many ways, and they've taken so much flack for it. And yet in Congress, we cannot force ourselves not to spend a whole bunch of extra money that we don't have to spend. Like, there is just zero appetite for fiscal responsibility, which is extremely frustrating. A lot of GOP supporters will say, yeah, well, it won't be this bill. It'll be, the next one or the one after that, or, maybe the one 5 years from now, then we'll get our house in order. And I hope that maybe that's true, but I would submit that history is not kind to that perspective. And we sure seem to like spending money, and those are for structural reasons, not necessarily, for anything else. So it really does put Elon in a tough spot. I think he's, like you said, tried to do as much as he could do within the government framework. And now it's time to do everything he can do with Tesla to accelerate GDP. And then to circle back to, John's points, the importance of Tesla having a voice within the administration, and for the administration to be aware of the technology that Elon is developing really across all of his companies, is that we are locked in a technological space race with China. And if it wasn't for Elon, like, we're already behind the 8 ball in that race in a ton of ways that are very structurally difficult to overcome. And Elon is one of the only bright spots. Like, we have him and a couple of other handfuls of companies that have not fallen prey to just selling out the ability of the United States to secure its national security interests from China if China wanted to just cut us off from lots and lots and lots of different goods and services that are critical to the functioning of our nation. And then, the same can be said somewhat in reverse, but China has been much more thoughtful about how to play this chess game over the last several decades than we have. And so it is very important that, Elon and people like him have the ability to show this is where technology is going, and we can't afford to just sit back. And so, no, we don't want special treatment. We don't want to, the government to just roll over and allow people to do stupid things or insane things, but we have to be smart in the way that we pursue this. And that's why, I like Elon's point about the referees. Like, we need a good game where you have not too many referees to where the entire field is full of them, not too few to where the game gets completely unhinged. And, this isn't hockey here. Let's actually play the game, not get in fights. And that's the goal that he has for the American regulatory system, which is the right way to think about this. That, we've got the best rule of law right now in the United States, and it is getting pretty difficult to operate, but it's still better than, just about any of the alternatives. And there are things about the Chinese system that are also excessive, and so maybe we don't want to completely just follow them on the way that they do everything, but we do need to give these companies the freedom to operate and do smart things that are good for people, that are not just weighed down by a bazillion regulations by people that were never elected and don't understand the second and third and fourth order consequences of their decisions. And so now with a new field like artificial intelligence, we need some regulatory oversight. That's the area that Elon is saying, let's bring in something here. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know how that's going to work and not be terrible. But Tesla and XAI and OpenAI, all these companies right now, they're kind of operating in a green field area where there's not a whole lot of oversight, and they're going to, the implications of whatever happens there is really going to be the thing that decides this space race between us and China.
I'll just jump in real quick and say it's not about reducing waste, fraud, or abuse. It's about cutting the kinds of spending that one particular person or party doesn't like. The waste, fraud, and abuse is still absolutely everywhere. We're throwing the king a parade for his birthday. That's not exactly a fiscally wise move to do when our belts are supposed to be tight. If you like the way it's going, that's great. If you don't, you're not crazy for it. And us telling people they're crazy for disagreeing with the way in which this is implemented. If we don't want unelected bureaucrats having endless power, I'd hasten to point out that Elon might not have been elected to this position. And a lot of people don't care for the way in which he's done some of the things he's done. There are no winners in a political debate. I'm happy to move on, but it's the things that fit on a bumper sticker aren't always capable of conveying nuance, and there's an ocean of nuance to all of this. Times are tough and weird, and Hans is right. China has played very smartly with their power, not just today, not just over the last few months, but in the 30 years leading up to it. And we need to, recognize it all.
Joe.
Yeah. Let me just hop in right after Brian says that. Let's talk about robots, you guys.
That's why I brought you in, Joe.
Let's talk about robots.
Nice transition.
Smooth,
seamless.
So this is pretty cool. So FutureAza, I'm not saying that right. Anyway, I want to make it clear how crazy impressive the result is. We can now do bimanual dexterous manipulation across dexterous, whatever, across the wide range of tasks with barely any data on these skills coming from teleoperation, which is pretty awesome because, as we know, teleop does not scale, but turns out human video does. This means Optimus can now rapidly pick up new skills with significantly less effort than before. What's next? You guessed it, RL baby. So this video is pretty cool because as it showcases here, you know, one of our goals is to have Optimus do things from either video or just being told to do it. So can we show the video?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, and then let me know if it gets enlarged. So let's do this. Let me just start it over, and then you can see this.
Yep.
Yeah, so here they released this video earlier, as Joe said, and it's happening in 1.5x, and you can see it dumping trash and now picking up some paper into sweeping some trash, and then also now getting some paper towels. Pick up the spoon and stir the pot. It's going to be cooking for us at some point, which is great.
And they say that these instructions that, you know, the prompts are given there at the bottom of the screen, those are given either by text. So someone's typing that in and sending it to the bot, or sometimes even by voice. So someone's just asking it, hey, do this thing. And then it's able to do this thing. And there's one program that's able to do all of the different tasks. It's not like, hey, let's load in the sweeping up the stuff on the counter program, and then we're going to load in a different program and then load in a different program. It's all one end-to-end neural network that they're using to do all these different general tasks.
Yeah, and when talking about GDP, what you have to realize is, like, you might have somebody that's working, you know, for a salary and they're getting like $50,000-$60,000 a year, and then you have to hire a new person, and that person has to train that person. Where you're looking at with the robot, if you paid even 80 grand for one bot, they all are getting this training at the same time. So you end up with like a universal mindset, and everybody learns at the same time. And so I think you really have to think about that when you think about a 40-hour work week and you're paying people like every 2 weeks or weekly or whatever they get paid, you know what I mean? Like, and you're looking at the price of the bot, and that's why the GDP is like huge when you think about, and Elon's not overstating it. He's just really trying to get people to understand like what this means going forward. And I don't really think people are getting it. Like, it's gonna change everything.
So we've got this new product. We need to train the new guys. We're going to bring in a fancy trainer to do it. We're going to get the whole staff in. We're going to shut everything in, bring the whole staff in. No, we're going to have the trainer meet one-on-one with one Optimus, and it'll train all of them. And now they know. And if, you know what, we're short a few hands in packaging today, it doesn't matter. Every bot in the factory knows every job in the factory. And guess what? This week they started suggesting new ways to adjust the workflow to make it more efficient. That's what we're going to see. And it's tough for a human to compete with, but as a human, I can tell you those are all jobs I'm not super excited about. If you look at those bot videos and say, well, the stirring, it does the world's worst job of stirring. Can't agree. That was a terrible stir. But that's not what I'm concerned about. Teaching it to stir properly, easy. It was probably trained by people who've never cooked. I don't know how much cooking those engineers do. But what impressed the heck out of me is pulling that paper towel. You don't necessarily realize that it takes a delicate, fine touch to know how to not just Frankenstein monster the whole thing into bits and throw it in the river. So it's pretty impressive. And these are not the latest versions. These are just what they're willing to show us.
Yeah, go ahead, Hans.
Yeah, I was agreeing with Brian there. These are the Generation 2 Optimus robots that they're showing off. And, you know, I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One of them is that that's the robot that they have the most of them that are made, that are running around. So this is going to be the workhorse of a lot of the testing that they're doing. But B, they don't really want to show the whole world exactly what the latest and greatest that they're working on with the Gen 3 Optimus robots are, because they have been aggressively copied by all kinds of companies all over the world, including California and China. So since there's all this copying that's going around, then they're, kind of showing us things, and they're showing them to us after other people have kind of demonstrated, oh, this is, something that we can kind of do. But they did one up the competition, at least in my view, by saying that this is one neural network that's doing all of these different tasks in a general way, and their ability to train somewhat, they've done a lot of training through people that are in suits that are doing motion capture, but they're talking about doing this training from purely video. And it sounds like they're kind of in the process of getting that to work, that they haven't really gotten that to work all the way, but that's the direction that they're going. I'm sure a lot of other people are trying to make that work as well. But so the fact that they are making good progress on getting that to work is, I think that's ahead of what we've heard, as far as I'm aware of, any of the other humanoid robotics companies talking about. And then that plus the general neural net that's able to do a variety of tasks. And the last thing was, I think Milan mentioned that, there's a lot of accommodations that they had to make in order to get their simulation to real process to work. So they train these robots in a digital environment on a computer, and they simulate what's going to happen. They have to do all kinds of stuff to get that then to actually work in the real world, because, hey, if you think the ground has this much traction, but then, it's off by just a little bit, then it's really easy for your very expensive robot to slip and fall. And, oops, that was a $30,000 mistake because you just broke something that was really critical. And so getting that to work reliably and seamlessly, that's a hard thing to do to begin with. But then the kicker is that, Tesla is trying to do this not just on this one robot this one time. They're thinking about, how do we make this process work when we are making hundreds and thousands of these robots? And so they're building in accommodations to this whole software process right now that's going to be the foundation of making these things do useful work. And they're thinking about how that scales to the thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, and potentially even billions of robots in the long term.
Yeah, I don't think it can be understated that Tesla manufactures pretty well at scale. And out of everybody who's making robots, they're the only ones I see that, has that scalability. Like you see all these other robots, and they're doing great, but they're probably all handmade and they don't really have factories. And man, once the robots start making the robots, this is like
Yeah.
Man, crazy.
My thoughts are, I think I will say though, like, I think kind of going off of what Hans was saying, I do think that this is not going to happen in the next like 6 months, right? Like, I still think we're still a couple of years away, in my opinion, because things are way more accelerated than it was when we first launched FSD. But I still think that there's so many things that we can't even boggle our minds on things that that this robot will need to be trained on. When you think of, sidewalks and, the texture versus like, random divots, random potholes, all of those experiences are going to take time to train. Because as Hans was saying, it's one of those things like, yeah, you can't be like at scale, right? Like, if these things are making potentially like that basic error and like tripping over something, it's going to be it's going to be a very expensive mistake, and companies are not going to be a fan of it, and they'll probably turn to something else. But I don't think that that's necessarily the point in all of this. This is the fact that Tesla is moving us forward and trying to tackle this problem. And there would, in my opinion, there's no other company that it has a better opportunity to get us to massive scale with bots than Tesla. And based on just what I've seen in the past 2 or 3 years that this program has literally launched. And also too, they're doing it with the car. So I'm hoping what will be really interesting, right, is, one proven factor will be, once they solve FSD unsupervised, that's going to allow them to continue to not only fine tune that and make it, scale it, bring it to other countries, cities, etc. But that will be, they'll solve that and then they move on to this Optimus. But again, too, it's just there's probably a lot of more attention on Optimus too, just because of the potential total addressable market. But again, they are completely focused on autopilot or FSD unsupervised. And then once they get past that, like I said, I think it's going to be solving this Optimus stuff. And knowing Tesla, they're working on both at insane rates. They're not, stepping off the pedal on that at all. But there's no other company to do it from, I think it was Hans, you mentioned like one neural network. So I think that's or that may have been Brian. But either way, it's just, it's crazy because, this will be able to feed itself videos and in real world scenarios and get better over time. And as it's fed more data, as it's fed, has more and more real life experiences, or even in the digital world, as it gets more training, it's just going to get better over time. So
can you imagine being the government and realizing that you don't have this tech as like this is wild, man. This has saved so many lives if soldiers were robots instead of actual meat puppets like that. I don't know. There's so much happening right now, and it's all stemming from like one brain that's like affecting the entire globe, and it's so wild to witness all this happening right now.
100%. So let me just add this to the stage. Okay. Here, let me just make sure I didn't skip anything. We talked about
Brian's
that. All right.
Favorite mods.
So at the famous German track, there was a disguised Model Y and S. So
Super disguised.
So who knows? This could be the Model Y performance, and who knows exactly what this Model S is here.
Could literally be anything.
Yeah, it could be anything. Could be a robot too. Well, actually, technically, it is. All right, I'll throw this one to Joe.
We're just gonna gloss over the Nürburgring.
Unless there was anything you else want to say.
Brian, did you want to comment on all the modifications?
So yes, I posted on X yesterday saying, please someone tell me that they're going to update it more than this, because that refresh is not very refreshing. And of course, I got a lot of people saying, nope, it's perfect as is. You don't mess with perfection. And I say, yeah, but buyers also don't buy it. So that might be an issue to think about. But there's a lot of changes that could come. Of course, it's going to have, I'm sure, a little more power, a little better body rigidity, all that. But we need to have a little styling update too, if we wish to expect buyers to get excited. That's all.
To be fair, buyers have not really been excited about S and X for a while. I think that's something to think about, but I would rather them just bring out the Roadster and not spend too much time on a lot of these.
But I think they're all connected. I think the Roadster will be built on the S and X line. I think it's going to share a lot of the same architecture and philosophy. And I think that any progress they do towards building the Roadster could be shared to the S and X. And that I think that's what's actually happening. I think the fact that we're seeing S development means Roadster is finally getting some love. So there, John, we got the good news in.
I would say quickly that the most important changes that I want to see to the Model S to build for that Roadster production is really all underneath the skin of the Model S. And so if the outside doesn't change much, but you've got castings, you've got steer-by-wire, you've got, a dramatically refreshed interior, a lot of those things I think really have a lot more implications that are deeper for the progress of the Roadster project than what the body panels look like, especially if you get just a little bit of compressed gas and little thrusters here, little thrusters there, a little hippity hop.
The castings are unlikely to come because volume needed to justify the expense of setting up castings is very large. So we may not see that, but some of the other things, I mean, it's clear that they're working on it. We just don't know to what extent. And no matter how beautiful you make it, it's not a car that I'm going to be able to buy or probably would want to buy. I don't know. So I guess I'm free to complain all I want. It doesn't matter. I'm not the customer.
Yeah, for me, I'm probably more in line with what Brian is saying. In my opinion, I do think that they need. It's not mass market, but it cannot be. They already had the refresh S come through, which was like a refresh fascia and back end as well, along with the back screen and other things. But I think like when you think of the Model 3, they call it the mini Model S now, right? So there's just a lot of things that I think can get better on the S, not only build wise, just structurally. Like I think that they can give it a facelift. And like I wouldn't expect. I'm not saying it's going to look like the Juniper, but I would assume something like very futuristic design and look as well being thought of. In my opinion too, like I think that the X, whether you keep the Falcon doors or not, I think that I don't personally have a take on that. I just think that they need to make a better family SUV capable vehicle. Even if they can extend it by a couple feet out the back, the third row seats really, to be honest, they're really like limiting. And same thing with what you'll see in the Model Y. But again, even the X, like my son, I think he's about 11 now, and he's starting to reach the capacity of what he can fit in the third row. So we're starting to even rotate our kids in the back. And I just want to see, like, I want to be able to grow with the vehicle too over time. So I would love to personally see that happen. And also too, at least in my neighborhood, I'm seeing so many R1Ss because just eat the Model X's lunch. And I don't think it takes a whole lot to kind of get it to that size. They can keep it on the same platform and get it to that size.
I mean, even the R1S is not as big as it could be, needs to be, honestly. Like, there is the full-size Suburban, the full-size Sequoia, like the Expedition, is it the Expedition? Whichever one the Ford is, it's that size. Like those sell a lot, and it's because once you have more than a couple of kids, it takes a lot to fit them and all their crap that has to go all the places. And there's a lot of people that buy that vehicle for specifically that reason. And, at some point, it's not the most mission critical thing, but Tesla needs to build a full size SUV on the Cybertruck chassis, whether it's stainless steel outside or not. The bottom of that vehicle needs to be Cybertruck.
And it's tricky because what GM is facing, they're the only ones really making a big vehicle. I mean, the Kia's got the EV9, I suppose, but I mean, a full size vehicle like the Escalade IQ or Escalade IQ, I guess they're calling it, with their super clever nomenclature for all their EVs, with their Celestiq. And literally, if you want to show a picture of it, Cadillac has Vistiq. So you can post a Vistiq pic, but there's all kinds of their brute force solution is they're saying we need 300 plus 400 miles of range. How do we get that in something that's shaped like a brick and weighs 9 tons? And the answer is 200 plus kilowatt hour battery pack. It is a brute force solution to a problem, but it is a solution. And Tesla could build that today.
It costs as much to charge that thing as it does to fill up a gas tank. Like the thing is so ridiculously inefficient.
Yeah. If you're filling up your 200 kilowatt hour pack at an Electrify America station at $1, oh my goodness, you're at $200 a tank.
Oh my God.
Where's the savings? There isn't any. And even at 50 cents, which is a good rate, you're $100 to fill up on the road. Tesla, of course, is trying to go with efficiency. If you look at some of the efficiency that people are posting out of their new refresh Model Ys, Rob Ford on, I think Rob Ford 37 on X showed he went out, did a 300-mile drive, came back, had plenty left in the battery, and he averaged 207 watt hours per mile. That's amazing. That's almost 5
better
miles
than my refreshed Model 3.
It's unbelievable. But now we don't know what his road conditions and temperature were, but still, that is you're approaching cybercab territory there. So it's, you got to approach it from both sides. And I appreciate what GM's doing. And I'm sure all manufacturers will get there at some point, hopefully not with a 200 kilowatt hour pack.
Five stars.
5 stars again. Sorry, I was on mute again. 5 stars again. And obviously in Australia, New Zealand, one of the main reasons why I drive a Tesla one, because I've seen the safety of these vehicles, but the safety ratings are through the roof. And so awesome to see that Tesla's getting some love on the Model 3 out in Australia and New Zealand. They are achieving 95% in the child occupant protection pillar, the highest result recorded to date for the ANCAP's 2023 through 2025 criteria. So this is just, I mean, like I think I've seen this time and time again, whether it's Europe, whether it's here in the US, you know, Tesla really sets the record for a lot of this stuff. And, you know, if you really want to think of safety, you want to think of feeling like, because, you know, the reality is people drive distracted, and Tesla will be,
or worse.
Yeah. Or
I mean,
worse.
it's a car literally so safe that after you try to commit murder-suicide with your whole family, you get to survive to sue the company that saved your butt.
I said I was sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think in my opinion, it's just, again, it's the automotive deals that they're running right now. I think it's $349 to get into a Model 3. I think it's something like what, $399, $499 to get into the Juniper, something like that for a lease. Definitely go take a look. Make sure you use Hans's referral code, Hans71453. Shameless plug for him. But either way, it's really, really important if you have a young family, and you know, there's so many stories of people getting insane crashes. And what Hans was referring to is this guy was literally, I believe it was a doctor who literally took his family over the side of like a cliff. Actually, I think it's in like Pacifica or something, like out here in the Bay Area. And, you know, no one should have survived from that. And I think that even the fire department even said that, yeah, if this was any other vehicle, they would have been dead. But somehow they're, you know, they left probably a little bit injured, but somehow they all survived. And it was because they were in a Tesla. So yeah, it's Devil's Slide. Shout out to Matt for that. All right, Joe, do you?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So Tesla supercharges stadium. So the Tesla supercharger below the National Soccer Stadium at Yalaval, I want to say Oslo. Oslo, the way they spell things and how they pronounce them is pretty wild. So I'm not Norwegian, even though you might think so. The was originally built with 20 stalls in 2022. It expanded to 28 stalls, and now as of May 1st, an additional 12 V4s have been installed, making it a total of 40 stalls. And I mean, and this is pretty awesome. Like most stadiums should have superchargers. It just makes way more sense. That's pretty cool, especially with everything being NACS ported eventually.
Exactly. Tesla Wall, the first Tesla wall system to ever exist. Tesla solar roof tiles reimagined as the exterior solar vertical walls to bring power to this luxury home. So much fun to work with such a creative builder. Ohad that envisioned this and asked us to make this happen. That is insane.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
I think, you know, the really interesting thing about this design choice is that, you know, look at how complicated all of the angles and contours that they did on that roof are. And like all of those ridges and valleys and weird angular shapes is the thing that makes the Tesla solar roof tiles a difficult product to make flexible enough to work on, you know, any shape of roof. But if you put these on the walls, like now, all of a sudden, you eliminated, I don't know, probably 70, 80, 90% of the complexity that's involved in trying to install those roof tiles. And so if you can do that on some interesting areas of your house that do get a lot of sun exposure, it's just a very interesting idea moving forward for giving you some access to the solar power, but not in a way that is super expensive to install. But the downside is it's an expensive product and you're putting it on a wall that you don't necessarily need to have anything that expensive on. So I don't know, there's kind of like trade-offs back and forth, but I'm just interested to see where this goes.
Well, the UK has been doing that for years, I was going to say.
Yeah, and I would say that the picture we saw, that house, I think is the poorest example you'll ever see. There are people who have a large south-facing wall. For them, it makes more sense. You've got more surface area, you've got less shade directly on it. But yeah, it's a neat idea, and I hadn't thought about your perspective on that, Hans. It is the labor of cutting in all the corners and all the nonsense that really makes it. I don't think expensive is the right word. It is eye-wateringly, other earthly expensive for no reason that I can wrap my head around.
All right, our favorite time of the day, the upbeat, or favorite time of Fridays. The upbeat is an opportunity to talk about various other topics, not only Tesla related, but kind of in the Musk world. And we get our panel's opinions on them. So first one is to Hans. It's over again. News, free lifetime supercharging for the Model S and X is now limited to inventory orders only.
Got to move the stock that they have. And hey, I mean, free lifetime supercharging is pretty nice if you got to go on long road trips. So get it while it's hot. Hans, 71453 Tesla referral.
All right, now back to Brian. The power of an ad. Teslas have the lowest maintenance and repair costs of any brand.
So check it out, guys. I know we think that Tesla doesn't need to advertise. They've got people like us doing it for them. Well, we can't be everywhere, and we don't do the kind of market research that would allow us to necessarily get our message in front of the right people. And sometimes you need to get the message in front of the right people. It's an easy car to own. Over the life of the car, it's a cheap car to own compared to the competition, compared to anything else you can get out there. Advertising, when targeted and narrowly applied, can be very effective. I don't want to see it on the sides of buses and billboards and all that. But if we can get this kind of message in front of that kind of buyer, let's do it.
Joe, Grok coming to Tesla.
Yes, it's true. It's all true. No, I'm just kidding. So, so I think this is pretty cool, man. Like, I had made a comment on X about how like these chess pieces are just being put in place and that people just aren't commenting on it. I mean, you're talking like they've got like huge freaking battery packs and these what are they? What are these switch yard thing called? They're
Transformers.
Yeah, transformers. Like, I mean, they have received more transformers in the past like freaking 2 weeks that I've ever seen ever. Like in any volume. Like it's like they are getting transformer after transformer after transformer. And it's all because of Cortex 2. And as Elon stated, it's going to be a pretty powerful training tool for Grok and for the AI going forward. It's going to be in Optimus and all kinds of things. So it's looking good.
All right, Hans on.
Man, who is this? Yeah, who is this guy who lets AI write these crappy posts for him to put out on the internet? Can't believe that. So the context of this is there's a famous law within super nerdy AI circles. It's called the bitter lesson, and it's written by a guy named Rich Sutton. And so I had Grok help me to explain what the bitter lesson is to normies. And the gist of it is that there are two things that every AI system always boils down to that is actually good and actually wins. And those are lots of data and more compute than you have today. And the benefit is that we continue, Jensen every year is going to get up and he's going to say, hey, we've got, 3 times as much compute power this year than we did last year. So if you bet on that trend and you feed your AI system with a ton more data, you're going to outperform the silly person who is trying to use too many sensors, too much HD maps, and too much other things that you're trying to shortcut the solution. That and the reason that data and compute are the things that you need to double down on is because those allow the system itself to get smarter. And so the smarter system is the system that wins. And that's the whole post, just is explaining why that rule that exists in AI is going to apply to Tesla versus Waymo. And in the long term, it's going to make Waymo's system look like an infant compared to how well Tesla will be able to drive. And the CEO of Waymo yesterday was out there saying, hey, Tesla, they're doing okay, but they don't really understand how to make autonomous driving safe. And the reality of the situation is that the smarter system is going to be the safer system, and Tesla will far surpass Waymo in safety sometime in the next 12 to 24 months, and that at a scale makes Waymo look non-existent.
And the big thing with AI right now, and I just wanted to add this at the end, is there's the question of general AI, but what I'm waiting to see is the solution to General Mills, and if AI can determine why kids love the taste of Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
That's a shameless plug for your referral code. No, so I want to do one last plug. We are about 2 months away from the X Takeover. This is happening on July 26th and 25th and 26th. The 25th, we really have the light show is kind of like the grand opening, driven by Simon from xlightshow.io. And we got some cool stuff brewing. And then the next day, our event is going to be running from 10 to 6. Location still to be announced, hopefully in the next week. But it's happening. Get your tickets at xtakeover.com. All of the people on this podcast will be speaking on various panels or at the event. So make sure that you come. We would love to see you. It's the biggest Tesla community event really in the world, and we've taken it to Europe and Malaysia, or Asia, I guess you could say. So come to the big daddy of all of the Tesla events, and we would love to see you guys. It's going to be an awesome event. Thank you again to our wonderful hosts here, Brian, Hans, 60 Minute Joe.
John had a birthday.
Thank you guys. Yeah, it was yesterday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, so thank you guys for the support and love on that. But yeah, make sure you give them a follow their channels on YouTube. And thank you again for tuning in. Next week will be the Beat 100. So going to be an exciting time. We'll see you guys. Have a good week, everyone. Cool. Good stuff, guys.
All right. Yep. I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, man.
All right.
Be safe.
Later, man.
Later, y'all.
Hey, John, is there anything that I need to do to sign up for the tour? Well,